For everyone who can, please turn on your videos so we can see each other, and that way we can have a more engaging discussion too. It makes it more fun and interactive. And we'll get started, I think. Keep seeing names pop up. Okay.
And Sally, I had requested to have it recorded. Someone said they're going to be gone, so they wanted to get it recorded.
It's recording.
Oh, good. Okay.
Yes, and we'll send it to everybody afterwards.
Okay, great.
Amazing. Cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Tali Lazar, and I'm the IAC MIshelanu Program Manager based in DC. I work directly with Chait Gilad, our IAC National Program Director, and she's the host of this amazing series. I really, really appreciate everybody joining the webinar today. I'd like to have a special shout out to our staff and our fellows, and obviously as well our speaker today, who not only is she here with us on such short notice, but this is literally the one day that she got off during the week from her very, very busy schedule, and she's spending it with us. So we're very, very privileged to have her. This is our IAC MIshelanu webinar series. It's called Stay Connected. It's a series of speakers discussing relevant topics to today's world events and interactive activities to kind of keep us focused on positivity. We ask that everyone does keep their videos on, but their mics muted. Alex will interact with us, and she'll tell us when she wants to talk to us and when she wants to have us be a little bit more on the quiet side. So there will be a designated time for questions at the end. Without further ado, let me introduce our speaker. Dr. Alexandra Hollywood is a full-time trauma acute care surgical ICU and general surgeon who is double boarded with general surgery and critical care. She is the chair of surgery and of anesthesia at Midwestern University College of Medicine and a clinical assistant professor at the University of Arizona, Midwestern University, and Creighton University. In addition to her full-time position as a trauma surgeon, she works with the residency program at Creighton University Health Alliance. Mentorship, coaching, and inspirational speaking are a focus for her, now in addition to medical education. Specifically, she mentors medical students pursuing surgery and anesthesia, surgical residents, women in surgery, and founded the AZ chapter of the Association of Women Surgeons. Amazing. And serves as a faculty advisor for the Midwestern University Association of Women Surgeons chapter. By the way, she is finishing her master's in medical education this year, and her next goal is to form a quarterly group at her shul to mentor and inspire young people pursuing health careers. Quite an incredible woman. Definitely what I like to say is a shiro. Alex, please take it away.
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. It's been quite a week. I'm sure it's a week for all of you. And this is the time when everything started to really explode at the hospital. So literally overnight, things started to change immensely in the hospital as far as people getting sicker, the ventilator situation, and we just hadn't seen this in Arizona quite yet. I'm not really sure about your state, but this is the week when things started getting really real. So all of us are stepping up to the plate, and whether we teach or we have degrees and all these things after our name, it came down to the patients starting, this week. This is when all of us have to put our resources together and help the patients and everyone. So I want you to know that
all of your social security
there's a few things that I want to talk about today. One of them is knowing your purpose, because that's what really can help with staying positive. So there's three things: knowing your purpose. Who do you want to be during a crisis? Who does Idan want to be during a crisis? That's my son's name, so I saw you here. And then I'm going to go into some techniques some techniques that Talia had asked about, like what are some techniques that we could do to help keep staying positive? And I'd love to start with one of the questions, and then we can maybe talk to the group. So the first one is knowing your purpose. And at your level, I know it's really hard. For me, knowing my purpose and knowing why I'm here is how I get through things and how I stay positive. I know that the patients in the hospital right now, I'm all they have. If they don't have me, they really don't have anybody else that can take care of them on the ventilator, or, you know, being really sick, not able to talk or breathe or do anything or eat. So is anybody here willing to share how they realize what their purpose is and how that can keep them positive?
איזה סרט זה הראשון שעשינו?
סיפור של יציאת מצרים.
I shared mine.
Yeah, I don't mind sharing.
Oh, wow.
Amit.
Amit. Hi, Amit.
Yes, hi. Obviously the situation is not ideal, but my way of thinking about it is that I have loved ones who are vulnerable.
Amit?
Yes.
Could you just
yes.
say a word about where you're from and your
Oh,
school?
yes.
Yeah. So we can be familiar to each other.
Yeah, no problem. Yeah, so I am the Michelanu Fellow in Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. I am a second year biomedical engineering pre-med, so
Wow.
actually a lot of props to you. You have an amazing career, so I'm glad that I can be on this forum. But my way of thinking about it is that I have loved ones who are vulnerable, who are in a situation not like me. Obviously, I'm stuck at home with my family, haven't lived with my family for the last 2 years, so it's a weird situation. But you have to think that this world is bigger than us, and we have loved ones that we need to care for, and we'll get through it together. You know, you just have to take it day by day and hope for the best.
So do you feel yourself going into a certain mindset or mode once you realize that there's something going on or some issue in the house?
I mean, I feel like there's definitely a lot of tension in the house. We've definitely been close to, you know, going at it and yelling at each other, but
yeah.
That's part of it. That's part of the stress. It's part of the total chaos, you know, people losing their jobs around you, you know, people getting sick. So it's definitely hard, but, you know, as a family, you get through it together, friends and family. What's great is that we have technology and we're able to talk to each other virtually and, you know, share our concerns with each other and, you know, talk it through. And there are people who work day and night to figure this out and trying to find a vaccine, and we know that we have the best minds working at it, so I'm not too stressed.
Absolutely. I think that's a great thing. I mean, there are people, their purpose is to make the vaccine or to come up with the medications, and they're working tirelessly to come up with these things, but they'll sacrifice their, you know, their well-being or their sleep or anything to do these kinds of things like the vaccine or medications, because they know that's their purpose. And, you know, it could be that your purpose, all of you you all have a purpose, and it all contributes to the positivity and projecting in the whole world. And so that's what's really important about staying positive during this time. Since you shared, is there anybody else that wants to? Anybody thought about something while he was speaking? Because while we're in the hospital, we're kind of in this we're in this silo. We're in the ICU or we're in the ER, and we don't know what's going on with you guys. I don't know how you guys are feeling. I come home and I'm like, I don't really know what's going on. All I know what's going on in the hospital. And I have to stay focused and directed on those patients and taking care of people. And then when I get out and then I have to go to the supermarket or something, then I see how the real world is reacting to this. And I think people just lose sight of everything, and they get so much fear. And I'm sure many of you have fear. I even have a little fear. And when I get home, Nahum, he's online now, but he's my husband, and he picks up on it, and he's like, what's going on? You know, even I have fear because it's just unknown. So it's not like I'm like, yeah, we got this. We got the vaccine. We got the chloroquine, you know, we got everything, but we really don't yet, but we're getting there. And the second thing I wanted to talk about was, who do you want to be in a crisis? You know, maybe some of you were in the Army, or maybe some of you had to serve, or maybe some of you, you do something that maybe sports, or I don't really know what all of you do, but who do you want to be in a crisis? Do you want to be resilient? Do you want to take this crisis and say, hey, this is going to show my character. This is going to show my worth. It's going to show my leadership. And that's how you can further stay positive in the situation. What am I going to do? How am I going to turn this into something meaningful? So for me, I show my leadership at work. I show them what to do. I mean, if someone's bleeding or someone's on the ventilator, I can direct people. I'm not good at other stuff. You know, I'm not that great at a bunch of other stuff, but that's what I'm able to do, and that's where my best comes out. Some people need a structured situation. For me, if it's chaos or crisis, that's when I work my best. Can anybody relate to that? I'm sure there are some personalities out there that can relate to that. Anybody want to share? Is it Enav? I can't really see your name. Glazer, did you say yes? Okay. Do you want to share? Do you want to unmute?
Oh,
Who's speaking?
Amit.
Amit. Oh, excellent.
I'll share something that happened in my family. So a few years back, we live in an area where there are a lot of coyotes. So my dog was outside, and he actually a coyote grabbed my dog by the neck, and then he started like running for the hills. And my dog was like, sorry for the visual, but kind of split in half.
Yeah.
My dad actually chased him through like the mountains because he went into like emergency mode, and he like took him out of his mouth, and we were able to save his life.
Oh.
Yeah, sometimes you don't know, but like people have these like instinctive personalities, and they come out in emergency situations. So yeah.
Definitely. That's showing the leadership and character, resilience, and it's showing basically how you can adapt in situations. You'll be amazed. Like when they talk about moms doing certain things if their child is in danger, that's another example. And it could be even something like gratitude. We talk about gratitude and how thankful we are for our families. You guys are so lucky to be with your families, even if, you know, maybe you're getting into fights or getting on each other's nerves or something. But it's just practicing that gratitude. I know it sounds kind of hokey, but practicing that gratitude is something that will definitely just enhance your positivity in the day. Who else wants to share? Who do you want to be in a crisis? Who do you want to be when everything hits the fan? Are you going to be the organizer, the leader, what?
I can speak for that.
Yes.
I think, hi.
Where are you from?
I'm from LA. I go to San Diego State University. And I think for me, throughout crisis, I'm kind of the person that kind of keeps everybody together, kind of like the glue and like the peacekeeper. I think it's really important for everybody to kind of take a step back and kind of realize the positive things that are happening in our lives. And like for me, leaving school, and like I was so sad about like not continuing my sophomore year. But I try to look at the positives of like, yes, I'm not a senior, like I'm gonna come back, I'm gonna have other years. And that's what I've been trying to do to my friends and families, just help and encourage them that like this is all gonna be okay, and like that we should look at the positives that we have.
And do they look to you for this? Is this a role that you just maintained and they're like, we know to go to Jesse? I mean, how do you do that?
I think I'm someone that just is always very level-headed, and I've realized that there's no stress in the world. We produce our stress. So if we take a step back and just realize like what we have to do and what's in front of us, then yeah, then everything will be okay.
Okay. Who else? So the glue and keeping people calm, keeping people together, the leadership, showing resilience. Do I want to crawl into a hole or crawl into bed, back into bed and just say, forget it. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I don't want to hear anything anymore. We could do that, but that's going to be showing the other side of the character that you don't want to show. This is your opportunity. Take this opportunity. Some of the techniques. So one of the things that I was asked to talk about is how can you stay positive? Everyone's like, yeah, just smile and fake it so you make it and all that. But does that really work? And you know what? I mean, sometimes it can help, but I've realized over some really difficult years in my life, because it hasn't been so easy. It hasn't been easy at all. It sounds like, I have these names and degrees, but, my life has had some low points and some dark times. And the only way I got through it was through my family and then coming up with some techniques to help me. And one of the first things is really investing in myself. The only way I'm going to be good for my family or good for work or good for school is if I invest in myself, in my mind and my body. So the first thing I do in the morning is wake up, say a few prayers, and then I work out. I work out early in the morning. And I'm not really good at figuring out what to do to work out. Some of you like go to the gym or do something, you have your routine. So I have a coach that helps me work out. She helps me in the morning and she tells me what to do and what to eat, and I pay her. But that's how she watches to make sure I don't hurt myself. She makes sure I'm doing the right things, and that's how I stay fit. If my body doesn't stay fit, then my mind isn't fit. And then when I was sick in February, I was sick for a month. I wasn't able to exercise, and I was just not in the same mental state that I usually am. I wasn't as positive, I wasn't as happy, and I feel like I was fulfilling my purpose. So starting out with a mindset in the morning is probably the most important. And as you guys know, when you exercise, you feel better and you feel like those endorphins and you feel like you can do anything. So that's one of the things. And find something you like. I mean, it has to be something you really enjoy. The next thing is realizing, what are my goals for the day? And I know it's hard because you guys are sitting home and you're on the computer, sitting on your butt all day, and you're doing all this online stuff. I know that. And it's probably really hard to do all the work like that. Find out what are some of your goals today, besides the work, besides the homework, besides all these chats that you have to do. And think about your mind, your body, nutrition. So nutrition wise, you have to make sure that you're able to really treat your body well and eat appropriately. It's really hard when you're sitting down and you're wanting to snack because you're bored. That's what people are doing. But if you invest in your body, then you can definitely stay positive during any crisis or any issues. So one of the most important things I realized in surgery is ergonomics. So a lot of the time in surgery, we're like hunched over, or our necks are turned like this, or I'm trying to reach over, or I have like a really tall resident with me and I'm on all these steps and my body is just like, it's just not right. But the ergonomics involved with surgery are to try to get yourself in a certain mindset and your body before you go to the table and before you start doing surgery. And that's the same when you're at your computer. Are you hunched over? Are you, is your neck constantly bent? Neurosurgeons are finding more and more that a lot of people are having problems with their neck, and as far as the ligaments and the bones, because of all of this bending like this that you guys are doing, right? And all of us. So ergonomics are really important because it not only affects your body, but then it also affects your attitude and your mind. So you have to be very cognizant of how you're sitting at this computer all day long. So considering those techniques, I mean, is there a day that I come home and I'm upset? Yeah. Is there a day that I maybe have a pediatric trauma that was really terrible, that these techniques are not going to help me? The techniques that will help me for those really bad things that I have to see is talking to other people, or sometimes talking to a therapist that will understand and get me through these horrific things that we have to see on a daily basis. Because even though it doesn't affect us at the time, it builds up in the back of our head. It builds up, and that can affect you later. Has anybody experienced that before? Where you're not really dealing with it right then and there, but then it builds up and then all of a sudden explodes, and you're like, where did that come from?
I think that this is what happened with the virus. I mean, we felt like, it's far away, it's in China, it's something that happened there, and it built up, week by week, that it came closer and closer and closer, and suddenly you see states like Italy and France that are completely shut down, and they're like total panic over there, and it's starting to affect slowly.
Right. And we think, that's in Italy. They don't have any money there. The country's not doing well financially, so maybe that's why. No, it's really not. I mean, they're trying they can. But let's see. Can you guys hear me still? Okay. So, but when things started getting worse and worse here, and then we get emails every few hours updating us in the hospital, I'm like, whoa, okay, this is getting serious by the hour. And then I'd come home, Nahum would see my face, and he's like, what's going on? So yes, that's exactly it too. It's just, and we're not talking about it. The doctors are not really talking about it that much to each other, to help each other for our mind. We're just kind of working. Does anybody else have that experience? What about serving? Anybody serve?
I guess I'm not really like us being fellows. I mean, we're here to serve like our community and like our campus community. And I feel like sometimes like especially now, like we're not there for like people like so. Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. I'm Daniel. I'm a fellow at the North Texas chapter of Mishelanu, Dallas, Texas specifically. And there are a lot of people here in our chapter that are on scholarship. Like we have people on chess scholarship, on swim scholarship, on cross country scholarship that are here in Israel. And then I think a couple of them went back home, but then there's some here that, I mean, they're just stuck. And then there's also like people here that with their parents, and then they like, sure, I text like a couple of my friends from time to time, like Idan, who's also here in this chat, like I like barely text to now, or like barely like even see him now because of this virus. And I consider him a close friend too, so.
So how are you getting through that? I mean, it's just talking and face to face, but is there anything that you're particularly fearful of, or?
I say what I'm like fearful of is just someone in my someone in my chapter, like someone around me gets sick. Like my dad, he has asthma, and that puts him at an even more risk from the coronavirus than like anyone else here.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, so like my mom as well, and there's actually a very big elderly population. So my county, which is Collin County, we just had our first death of the coronavirus. It was I think a 77-year-old man, but then like we're getting like now like public servants, like a police officer just got it, and now starting midnight, our county is going to lockdown or shelter in place. So it's gonna be especially hard these times.
So, okay. Are you able to go to the supermarket and stuff though?
Yes, we are. Just groceries. Be able to like do like exercise our like pets and ourselves. I mean, but like and non-essential workers have to stay at home. I mean, like me, like I just got a job and now like oh great, I can't work now. So
Yeah, our medical students are also kind of similar. They're going on rotation, so they're in the hospital learning surgery. So how am I supposed to teach them surgery online? How am I supposed to teach them how to sew? How am I supposed to teach them how to stop the bleeding? How am I supposed to teach them what an acute abdomen feels like that needs an operation? Totally cannot do that online. I mean, I can show them videos of surgeries, but the actual patient interaction and the actual examining of the patient, putting their hands on the abdomen or listening to the chest, like someone who has asthma, that's so key. And that's what they're not getting. They're not getting it. So they're not getting the education. So I'm not sure what's going to happen. The whole medical school year is going to have to extend and applying to residency as well. Yeah, if anyone's interested in medicine, any kind of medicine, surgery, any kind of fields, I'm always here to answer any questions or help with anything. If you want to get in touch with me at a later date, I'm happy to help you. Anything, anything as well. I mean, with leadership or your careers.
Alex, can we ask you like questions about the virus, kind of like breaking a myth that they are running around there? I just wanted to ask, some people say, oh, I see there's a question.
How has surgery changed now? Wait, where's the question? Okay. How has surgery changed now that the coronavirus has become such a pandemic? Who asked that question? Who's that? That was Shani?
Shani,
Shani.
she's from the Southwest region from UCLA. I'm not sure if she can speak.
Okay. So it has changed everything immensely. So I do mostly trauma and emergency surgeries, but all of the elective surgeries have been canceled. So if you have gallstones and they bother you, you cannot have your gallbladder removed because that's an elective surgery. A lot of colon surgeries, even some of our cancer surgeries, unfortunately, all plastic surgeries, everything has been canceled. The only surgeries that are going on are emergency traumas, emergency general surgery, and pretty much that's about it. So it's changed our lives immensely. And I do all emergency stuff anyway, so it's not really affecting me. Actually, it's better for me because I have a lot of open spots in the operating room. But the reason why we're doing that is to save PPE, save the personal protection for the masks and the gloves and the gowns and everything, because we can't afford to not have those. We're running out. I was told we only had like a weekend's worth. So
we're really, really running out, and we can't afford to waste it.
Alex, would you say that this is nationwide? I mean,
Yeah.
is this what's all elective surgeries in the US are being postponed?
Yes, yes. The transplants, yes, it is. Transplant surgeries, I do know that there have been some active donors, so I do believe that there are transplant surgeries going on, because if you have a donor and the organs are going to go to waste unless you transplant them right away. So as far as I know, here at least, a lot of that is still going on. As far as an elective, like living donor kidney, that I don't know. Those are good questions, really good questions. Let's see, was there another?
I have a question.
Yeah, so I would like to ask something.
Mhm.
Hi. So I follow on Instagram an Israeli guy that lives in China and in the same region where it started in Wuhan. And he said that the government suggested that during the quarantine, if someone had to leave or whatever, they have to take off their clothes before they walk into the house, because the virus is actually sticking to clothes or to fabric. Is that true?
Yeah, it can live on surfaces for a while. The virus, when I get home, I shed all my clothes in the garage and I get a towel, and Nahum has to remind my son not to come. He comes running up to me, and I have to tell him no. And I immediately get in the shower and I put everything into the laundry and pretty much wash everything. I don't come home in scrubs. I keep the scrubs at work and put them in the machine there. But yeah, the virus will stay on keyboards. It'll stay on clothing, your hair, if you get it on your hair. So yes. So I do the same thing when I immediately get home. It's crazy, but
Going off that, actually, now that there are no wipes available and stuff, it's really hard to get the disinfectants. What is like the best way to disinfect something like a keyboard or clothes? Not clothes, because you can wash them, but like a keyboard or hard surfaces if you don't have like Lysol wipes and stuff like that.
I use alcohol sometimes. I don't know if that's good for the keyboard. Probably not, right? Some of you tech people probably know, the engineers.
Cleaning your keyboard with alcohol is okay. It's not going to do anything to it.
Okay.
Alcohol evaporates really fast, so it's good on plastic.
Okay. Yeah, I use alcohol or yeah, I mean, it's worse in the hospital, because like someone comes up and uses a computer, and then someone doesn't clean it, and then they come up behind you and use the same one, or in the ER. So it's really, really dirty there. But so alcohol, and then for your body, the best thing really is soap and water. For your hands, it's really soap and water. Because like I use that Purell all day long. I use like, I don't know how many times a day, and probably hundreds. And then after, when I wash my hands, it's like this dirty film on my hands, It's so I think soap and water and the mechanical removal of particles is really the best. Really the best.
We had a student, Shani, who wanted to say something too, and then I know that you see there's questions on the side too.
I just wrote out the question, but I know that like most hospitals right now don't allow like hospital like visitors like to come with the patient and stuff like that. So do you think that would have an effect on like the future of hospital visitors even after all of like the virus and like the chaos like calms down a bit?
Yeah. Where are you from?
Hi, I'm from South Florida, Southeast.
Okay. Nice. Okay.
I'm a UF fellow.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, I think it definitely changes. Our hospital had such a liberal policy. We have people coming in all times of night. There's people in the waiting room, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Now it's empty and quiet.
It's good for me because I can concentrate better and I can get through the hospital and there's not so much congestion. But I think you're right. I think it's going to change the way a lot of the policies are in the hospital, because we're talking about spread patterns. We had patients coming in rooms or near rooms that they shouldn't have been, and people get confused. They go in the wrong room and they'll go in an isolation room. So I think limiting the amount of people in the hospital has made a huge difference. And I think it will definitely change things going forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
And let's see. What was the most common misconception about the coronavirus? Oh, and there's a robot. First we'll do this one. Now that hospitals are using robots to treat patients, do you think hospitals will eventually move entirely assistive technologies? Wow. So, who asked that question?
I did.
So, I don't think it's going to be totally like that, because for trauma, we still need to open the patient quickly, and we need to do a big incision and get them open and stop the bleeding. We never do robotics for those kinds of cases. Well, not now. It takes long to dock the robot and get the robot into the patient. By then, our patients will be dead. Right. So at least for trauma, they'll still need me, and they'll still need, I'll still have a job. But I think more and more, like for colonoscopies, for endoscopies, for hernias and gallbladders and those routine things, that will be robotics. You still need people to control the robot. So as of now, the technology is that our hands are still controlling it. The good thing about the robot is the motions are like this, versus laparoscopy. The movement is just like up and down, side to side. But robotics, you have more of the 360 movement. Have you ever used a robot?
I haven't, but I've been to like hospitals. I've observed doctors use it in surgery before. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really helps a lot of surgeons. That it's technically, from a technical standpoint, it's great. But I still, for trauma, still see the need for big open incisions, big open cuts on the.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And the misconception about the coronavirus, let me think about that. I guess initially people didn't think that it would affect us the way it was affecting Europe and China. I think that was a misconception. And I guess also a misconception among maybe the youth, having the parties in Florida. Who was in Florida on the beaches and stuff? And
everyone's having boat parties and everyone's partying at the beach.
Wow.
And
yeah.
Purim parties with Hasidim in Israel. That's being most infectious in Israel. All the Purim parties.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, that happened here too, in Arizona. And I think that there's a social responsibility that all of us have to take. And there are some young people. There's a young person at one of the hospitals, 19 years old, on the ventilator with COVID-19. So people that are young and teenagers still can get very sick from this, especially smokers, finding that because the lungs get so affected, and there's this major inflammatory response. It's called ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome, or adult respiratory distress syndrome. This is like your lungs white out and they get all congested and inflamed, and it's hard to oxygenate them. And it's worse in smokers. And as you can see, a lot of the more males are dying. So the youth are getting affected. So all of you are quarantining yourselves, or I see someone maybe outside in the backyard at the park, but it's a responsibility that everybody should have. Let's see. Next question.
Devere, also, if you can just turn your video on mute.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. Okay. Has any work been done to develop vaccines for SARS and the Middle Eastern, to translate a vaccine for COVID? I don't know exactly how they're doing it, because this is a novel virus, meaning it's totally de novo, totally. Amit, is that your question? Whose
No,
question?
it's not.
That was me.
That was Hadass. Okay. So since it's such a novel virus, it's kind of like starting from scratch again. I'm sure they can try to use some of the similar techniques, but that's what made people so worried about this particular virus, because it was novel. It was not here before. So it should take usually about a year, but I think it's maybe less, definitely less. We just don't want a bad vaccine. We don't want a vaccine that's going to hurt people or give them Guillain-Barré, things like that. We have to think about the safety of the vaccine and not just throwing something out there. What are the common negative thinking patterns in this kind of crisis situation that we should learn to recognize and change? So one of the biggest negative patterns is looking at other people and seeing them panic. So the other day, one of the general surgeons went to the store to get some carrots for her horses. So she had huge bags of carrots in her cart. So then people started looking, and they're like, well, why are you getting so many carrots? Is there something that I need? Do I need to get these big bags of carrots now? And so she noticed, and she said, well, yeah, she was joking, but she said, yeah, well, this helps with coronavirus. So then people are like, really? And she started actually getting people to think that they needed to start hoarding carrots. So that behavior is definitely negative. And then she finally told them, no, I have horses that I need to feed. That's why I'm getting carrots like this. But the toilet paper, the paper products, the carrots, watching other people in fear and giving into that. And, you know, when you wake up in the morning with a different mindset, you're waking up in the mindset as a leader. You're waking up with the mindset that I am going to be the one that's resilient. This won't happen as much to you, but it will happen to other people who are in a weaker mind state or have major, you know, their character is not that strong. So that was.
But I think, but there's also people, you know, that lose their jobs out of nowhere, you know, and are left stranded, having to pay bills with no money, you know. And I feel like it's also easy to fall into that negative mindset when everything around you, you know, the economy is crashing and the media is creating this chaos.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But yeah.
So what can you do in that situation? So I know some people that lost their jobs, so they're contributing in other ways. They're doing Uber Eats, or they're doing Grubhub, or they're doing something like that to make money, but they're also helping the community get food. It's not much, but it's something. And I totally get it. I mean, I'm there. I mean, my trainer, she makes commission, 100% commission. So, I mean, she's not making any money now. Nothing. So she's got a couple of kids, single mom, one with autism. Yeah, that's where you can get into a very negative mindset. And but she's getting around that by offering to go to people's houses and you know, do some sessions with distance, do some sessions, or outside. We went out in the backyard. In Arizona, it's really warm here, so we'll go in the backyard. So that's how she's getting around it. Maybe a lot of people can't do that though. And if you get into that negative mindset that you can't do anything else, that's hard. Okay, let's see. What's the next question?
Hi, I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm Maya. I'm from Italy, and I'm a student in GW.
From
sorry.
Italy?
Yeah, I'm from Italy. And it might be a bit of a broad question, but I think just how do you think, you know, we've all been very surprised by how this pandemic has hit us. And I think that, you know, obviously nobody, was prepared, but nobody wants to be prepared for something like this. How do you think in the future, just people, you know, in the healthcare world and the medical world, do you think, is there going to be a different preparation for it? How are we going to be prepared? Because we've obviously had a history with different pandemics, some more on a worldwide basis, but nobody of us was alive. And some of us, you know, like SARS and MERS, but more on a regional base. So how do you think the response is going to change in the future?
As far as dealing with future pandemics?
Yeah, obviously, what do you think we're going to learn, and what can be done in the future to try to control at least such a big pandemic, I guess. I know, maybe a bit broad question.
Well, let me ask, what you're asking the question, but I think you know. What do you think?
I don't know. I have no idea. I think that just by seeing how everything unfolded, obviously, I think there, you know, obviously with the media, the world that we live in today, I know in the media, I think there's a lot of disinformation, a lot of non-transparency. And I think, you know, we saw it happening in China, we saw it happening in South Korea, and obviously, you know, in Italy. And, you know, for example, I've been kind of, I wouldn't say prepared, but I've been living this situation because of what's happening back home for a while. So, you know, obviously I'm more relaxed, more tranquil what is happening right now, just because I have family there, but everybody here is panicking and nobody really knows what to do. So I don't have an answer, honestly. And I understand it's a very broad question, so I apologize. I think, you know, I think everybody has been, nobody was ready to believe that something like this was going to happen. And I think, you know, just obviously nobody was ready to take the precautions, and the measures that I think we are taking right now. And I think that everybody's panicking because nobody was ready to be quarantined. Obviously in Italy, my family and my friends have been for a couple of good weeks right now. But, you know, so I've been aware of the situation. And it's funny because a friend of mine texted me the other day and she was panicking. And you know, I texted her and kind of trying to relax her and everything. And she was texting me, wow, like, you know, I need friends with a positive outlook on this. But, you know, I understand why people are panicking because this was me about a month ago. A month ago, you know, when my parents texted me, you know, the first cases, I'm from the north, so it's one of the kind of the hotspots of COVID-19. And I think, you know, I think I wish that people would have reacted, even though it wasn't happening in the US, that people would have started to see it as something that is happening in our backyard and not so much, you know, it's happening on the other side of it. So I think that's my answer. I don't know if it is the answer, but yeah.
We're learning from each pandemic and each outbreak, and we realize that we will get a medication. Look at Ebola. I was scared during that time too, because I'm at the county hospital and we were the ones who were going to receive it, any Ebola patients. But we learned quickly that we have great technology in this country, in Israel, developing medications and vaccines. And the vaccine is not quite two years. It's more like closer to a year, maybe 9 months to a year. But we're learning from Italy. So I have a resident. She's Italian. She's from Sardinia, and she's in contact with her friends who are physicians in Italy. So we're learning every day what is working for them, what is not working for them, what is it that's killing the patients, what is it? And now they're just really having to triage people, and some people they know that are just going to die, they're not wasting resources on, unfortunately. It's sad, but that's the reality of what's happening. But we're learning from each other. We're learning from China. And somebody was mentioning China told us too late. Yes, they told us too late. They hit it. And then the whole animal market, the wet markets, that's also an issue. But we maybe should have reacted a little quicker in Washington, perhaps. But you know, it was really difficult because people were allowed to just leave Wuhan quickly. As soon as like people started getting sick, people started leaving. So I think that we're learning from Italy right now. We're learning from China, and we're going to get through this. I know we're going to get through it. The curve is going to flatten, and we'll be okay. The heat, yeah, the virus doesn't like the heat, doesn't like UV light, and doesn't carry well in those situations. So these kinds of climates might do better. I mean, in Australia, it's really dry and hot there. It's not really too bad there. That was one of the questions. How long the shelter should last? As soon as we start seeing the curve flatten for cases and deaths, and then we start seeing the downtrend, after that it'll be safe. But right now in places like New York, anybody in New York?
Yeah, I'm in New York.
Yeah, I'm in New York too.
Jonah, and who else?
Me, Maya, from Italy.
Maya. So, are you in New York City?
I'm from New York City, and we actually we left New York City and are staying with our cousins in Massachusetts with all the food in our fridge and stuff for Passover, just in case we're still here. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm in Westchester actually. So I mean, you might have heard that in New York it started with New Rochelle. I'm in White Plains, which is like 15 minutes from there. And so every evening we get calls from the mayor, like a recorded message updating us on the situation. I don't know how it is elsewhere.
Yeah, I've been watching the governor Cuomo on TV. I grew up in Queens. So I know what the environment is like there. Difficult to stay distant.
Yeah. I actually wanted to ask a question.
Yeah.
So what currently is like the main obstacle to overcome in finding a vaccine and creating a vaccine for this? With modern medicine, like what takes the most time to develop that?
It would be easier it takes a year for the flu. I mean, because I guess because of the different mutations and the different strains. So that's one of the things that they have to look at. I think the hardest thing with this one, like I said before, is that it's totally new. And we're not sure about the different strains and how it's going to mutate and, be resistant to certain vaccines. But that's not my field. I'm surgery. I cut people open. That's my thing. So I don't know exactly everything about the vaccines, but from my understanding from my colleagues.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is going to be the last question, you guys. So I think Shelly's is the last one.
Wow, that went fast. There's a lot of engagement here.
It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Who had the last question? Oh, was it on the chat?
Yeah,
Let's
Shelly.
see.
I read that even if a vaccine will be available, it will take at least 2 years until everything will pass. Is this true? People say that it'll be like the Spanish flu. It won't pass until everybody in the population will be essentially sick.
Well, I don't know if it's going to take quite 2 years. Since it's a new virus, it's really hard to predict. But as you can see, there's probably a lot of people who have it that don't even realize they have it, like the NBA stars, right? There's some NBA guys walking around and they're like, oh yeah, I'm positive, but I have 0 symptoms. I'm sure there's people walking around among us that have it and are carriers. The problem is that those people are not going to get tested. They're carriers, and they're going to see grandma with asthma, and they're going to see grandpa with diabetes, so that's where the problem is, and that's where you're going to see the spread continuing in those situations. So, I mean, yeah, probably a lot of people have to get sick. A lot of people are going to get sick, but a lot of people are going to get infected and not feel a thing, not a thing, or just be a carrier. But I think we're going to get through it if you just practice those things I told you. I'm telling you 100% you are going to change your life and be more positive. I have to see some awful things every day, but these are the things I utilize to keep myself sane and to keep myself happy and healthy for my family. Because even though I'm at work, helping people who are bleeding, I still have to go home and play baseball with my son, my 6-year-old, or basketball. And I have to pretend like nothing happened during the day. I wasn't taking care of these people on ventilators. So that's how I have to do it. And those techniques help me. Somebody has another question. That's a scary thing to say, 2% hospitalization rate. Yeah, especially because of our resources and lack of enough ventilators. The people who are getting sick are on the ventilator for a long time. And it's not like we get them on the ventilator and get them through it. They're on for weeks. So that's what's taking up so we need Tesla to step up and make some more ventilators.
Thank you so much, Alex. I know.
Thank you guys so much.
Busy, but honestly, this has been an amazing session. I think this is an incredible engagement, and I think we're all obviously really trying to figure out what's going on in the world. So thank you for everybody who joined, and thank you for your time. And if you do have any feedback, we're gonna have tomorrow a poll on our Facebook page. And you can always email us, and if Dr. Alex has time, we can try to relay some of her questions or the next questions. But keep in mind, she's very busy, people. But yeah, so our next webinar is going to happen on Wednesday. We're going to have a Pilates session with a certified instructor, and this is just going to keep on with the positivity, especially going back to what Dr. Alex was saying, and keeping your mind's body to keep your body's healthy, to keep your minds healthy. So again, thank you for your time, and keep safe, be healthy, and hope you have a wonderful night.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much, Alex.
Thank you.
Alex, you got a lot of thank yous in the chat. I don't know if you got a chance to see it. But no.
Half the chat.
Yeah, half the chat. Thank you, Alex.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you.
People said that you inspired us.
Thank
couldn't
you.
agree more. Thank you so much, Alex. And we recorded, and we'll send you the records. And one day, if we have a special nominee, a president of Mishelanu, you'll get. Thank you for always being there for us.
Okay, thanks.
Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Ah.